Welcome, Dr. James Beckett, Sports Card Insights. Even though this is an audio episode, this is an episode about aspects of video of my card wall and posting my episodes to YouTube, which is just the audio. The picture is just my podcast art. But then I've done a number of videos there, and they are poor quality. But that's not the main thrust of what I want to talk about today. But it's not my sponsor's fault. In fact, YouTube, the videos are more just like a bonus. I get great comments from the YouTubers because YouTube, you watch, I think, at your desk. Maybe you're just listening, but then you can comment right there. Whereas podcast is frequently in your car when you're doing something else. And so podcast is more passive. I'm listening. I'm taking it in. It's not as easy to immediately respond, but I do get emails from my podcast listeners through drjamesbeckett@gmail.com. That's DOCTORJAMESBECKETT@gmail.com, all spelled out. Thanks, sponsors, Beckett Media, Beckett Grading, Beckett Authentication, ComC.com, Burbank Sports Cards, Mike Stadium Sports Cards, Heritage Auctions, Hugs and Scott Auctions, Tops, Upper Deck, and Panini. We live in an audio world. We live in a video world, whatever, still pictures, anything that can convey information. But I have realized most of the world prefers video. I prefer audio because I'm more of a background thing. I do two things at once a lot. Okay. First from M. Zenko, talking about the card wall and mentioning that I really have enjoyed hearing the personal stories when you do the card wall of not just the cards, but sometimes with the players of the personality. He mentions Tom Landry, who I met, I was around. I had some interaction with him. So did my wife. We're big fans. He's been gone a long time, approximately my dad's age. So a really nice guy, top of his game in terms of being a player, and then a playing coach, and then a great offensive and defensive coach. I actually have a lot more stories, but what my point for this was going to be that there's a level of personal story that you tell on a podcast, because once you say it in the podcast, it's there. So I don't tell every story that I have, but I try to tell things that have something to do with sports card insights. And most of my Landry stories, for example, are more about the person and FCA and things like that, and his involvement with some things I was involved with too. So just a nice man and very collectible. And so he's a permanent part of my wall, and he lived 2 blocks away from here. So that was another reason for that. Secondly, Beansball Card Blog, who's outspoken, the friendly introvert, but he is outspoken, and he's not understated either. I guess you can be an introvert and friendly and still be not understated. But he says, I despise card designs that have facsimile autographs on them. I think Topps back in the old days figured out that they must have done a study. In fact, 52 Topps, the landmark set, has the facsimile autographs on there, and that was a breakthrough. But if you look through the 50s and into the 60s, Topps card designs sometimes had facsimile autographs on them, and sometimes they didn't. And I can't really say why they did or didn't. I actually think the design is cleaner without. And certainly, as I mentioned now that I was a very aggressive autograph collector of autographs on cards, mainly not 3x5s, but cards. And it just doesn't look right. If you got a facsimile autograph, if the player autographed right over top of it in a Sharpie or in a ballpoint or above it or below it, it just makes the front look busy. I don't despise it, Ken, but I do think that I'd prefer to not have it there. And Topps didn't do it every year, but they did it enough that they must have gotten some feedback from kids, because they really thought the kids were their market, that kids liked to see what the signature was. The other thing that proves, if you go back in the 50s and 60s, is that the players of that day had legible signatures for the most part. And it'd be nice if the players of today could take a page out of that book. But I don't think you ever see that anymore. Can't remember when the last time was there were facsimile autographs on a base card set. Next, from Golden Slumber, questioning Jerry Jones over Deacon Jones. He says, not on my wall, Dr. J. Also, this is not about the Rushmore episodes, but Jerry Jones would be on the football economic Rushmore, because he really showed the other franchise owners how to make money. He took it to another level of just being very aggressive and building up, not so much making money, but creating wealth. There is a difference. He already was pretty wealthy, but he's gotten extremely wealthy in increasing the value of the franchise. And maybe it's known if you read up on it. He made money in oil and gas, and he made a lot of money by creating the ancillary business of events, of the stadium hospitality, of selling the food and drink and stuff like that. That's a huge business as well. So again, he's had a lot of vision. He's got 3 kids that I have had a little bit of interaction with, and each one of them is a little bit different, but they're all sharp in a certain way, and they're all well positioned to assist in the family enterprises. So Jerry Jones, if you're in Dallas, Texas, Golden Slumber, Jerry Jones is going to be on your hobby card wall. Deacon Jones can be there too. In fact, Deacon Jones got trapped in the time when they didn't keep track of sacks. Otherwise, he was a sack monster. Okay, from Golden Slumber, talking about Dr. J in a kilt. As I said, you got to be careful what you put in a podcast because it's there. You can't erase it. I did for a group picture for a Scotland golf trip with some buddies. Everybody put on a kilt. That included me, although actually one guy bailed and didn't do it. To me, it takes more courage to wear a kilt. Okay, so there is a picture of me. The question is, if I took that picture, and I think there's only one, the photographer has only given a copy to me. So would that be a type 1 photo? I don't know. But if I made that into a card, if I gave it to one of my custom card buddies and said, turn that into a card and make sure it looks cool in some way, doesn't emphasize the kilt. I don't know, you can't cut it off at the waist or anything, but it's not revealing. It's just a Scottish kilt that's head to toe. I had the special shoes, the socks, the belt thing, the purse thing that you put in front. It was miserable, except there were 20 of us that all had the same thing. And so you couldn't make fun of anybody without making fun of yourself. So maybe that's a one of one that'll go on my wall. Golden Slumber, he wanted to know details about how I did the display. When I started it, I didn't think there was anything out there. Now I think there's any number of things that you could do to put them into. I made a good decision to put them in panels, because if you just have this huge display, it's hard to work around. So they're panels of 8. That I would advise. And I put them on my little ledges or shelves. You could do larger things, and there are things that are commercially available. My thing I thought might be commercially available, but even if you send it overseas for manufacturing, it just really wasn't going to be commercially available. So it's a one-off. Okay, from Hodges 1455, who's faithful in commenting and encouraging me on the video aspect. And he said, when he watches these, he watches them all, which thank you for that. He said, I realized Freddie Lindstrom was in the Hall of Fame, and he really enjoys the batter-ups. Yeah, Freddie Lindstrom, probably not a major Hall of Famer, but anybody that's in the Hall of Fame, anybody that's a Major League Baseball player is worthy of respect. Even Herb Washington, John Keating, if you put on a uniform, that says something. Card Alchemy said he loved the mention of the Dale Murphy rookie card that was personally autographed. Not to me, but personally autographed in my collection. That was my card. In fact, most of the cards that were on the cover and most of the cards in the price guides were my cards. That's why I don't make a big deal about displaying cards, because I did that 40 or almost 50 years ago. Not 40. Let's say. Golden Slumber said there's not enough football card reveals, and my wall is supposed to be not balanced. I think baseball probably is number one, but football and basketball deserve fair representation. And I'm winnowing away. My first attempt was mainly baseball, and then I've been inserting more and vetting and curating. Then from Larry Gitlin, got some nice comments from him. He was mentioning this is not about a video, but it's about a video. He just said he's really enjoyed the Golden Touch, King of Collectibles, the Ken Golden. He said he's enjoying the new season, and which I am too. And he says Ken is an incredible promoter, and he goes ... of the hobby. Again, to promote yourself is not wrong, but he's promoting himself and he's promoting the hobby at the same time. So again, the hobby needs big personalities like that. Another one from Ken, he's prolific. He said he's been toying with the idea of starting a podcast specific to a certain part of the hobby. He says, however, I know I will get burnt out too quickly, become a second job without pay. I admire those that can maintain a regular cadence. Ken, you've answered your own question. The regular cadence could be once a day, but it also could be once a week, or it could be once a month. If you've got something that people want to hear, even if it's a small number, podcasts, if you're not going to get paid, don't work. One of my mentors said, if it's not worth doing, it's not worth doing well. Don't do it. But if you enjoy it, and it doesn't matter how many people are enjoying, if you enjoy it and then you put it out there, and if it's a certain part of the hobby, it's like starting a restaurant that's got certain kind of food that's underrepresented in your town. On the other hand, if your restaurant is open 24/7, you're going to burn out. So do a pop-up or do a food truck or something where you're open when you want to be open. It really helped me when I moved to 3 times a week. I think I was going to get burnt out at 5, 6, 7 times a week. I was enjoying it, but I always had to be thinking about what's next. And there always was something next. But so Ken, think about it. There are YouTube and podcasters out there that have a very small number of followers, but they're very passionate. So I'm not doing it for the numbers. And I do believe in a regular cadence. If you say, I'm going to do it every once in a while, that I don't know how that translates. Okay, almost done here. These are technical things. This is from, I think it's Mark Zenkovich, who had something before. He said, when you were showing the box reveal, the first pack was shown too fast, and he'd like to see the presentation more slowly to see the design. I'm messed up. I didn't mess up. I am messed up in the way I present my YouTube videos, because I really enjoy doing the audio and I know how to do the audio editing. The video editing is a lot tougher. So it's choppy and my camera work is terrible. I refuse to hire somebody. So I'm filming it with my iPhone. I have a little kind of a tripod thing. Like I say, the lighting is bad. The tripod is shaky. So I'm doing a lot of things wrong. But again, it's not my primary thing. I apologize for the bad quality, and I hope to make up for it with the decent quality of the Sports Card Insights. You're seeing the pictures, but you're also hearing a narration of it. And it's usually me off camera for these videos. So I don't have to worry about that makeup or video or anything like that. At any rate, I take your point, and it might have been that I edited out something where I coughed. Again, it's way easier to do it with the audio than it is with the video. Then finally from @Clavine1, he says, why do you sometimes cut out mid-sentence at the end? Do you run out of time? Basically, it's not that I run out of time. It's just that I have some editing software that is not, I would say it's imprecise. I guess it would be precise if I took a lot more time, but I will edit out something, and sometimes I'll want to delete the last word, but it might catch a little bit of the word before it. I'm not slurring my words, but if the words are not distinct, it can sometimes knock out something, and it sounds like I'm leaving you hanging. I don't intend to do that, but once it's done, I guess I've made the determination it's better to leave it as out. But I've noticed some of the episodes just stop. Sometimes those are because it was a minute interview that I chopped into 2 15 minutes, and I couldn't chop it exactly at the end of a sentence. So my apologies, but I guess I'm an amateur podcaster. I'm not a professional podcaster. I'm enjoying it, and I'm enjoying it more by being an amateur. If it took me hiring somebody to be 5-star or 4-star even, I don't want to do it. I want to be able to sit in my office and do something that's from my heart and be able to edit it and get it out that same day without having to run it by going to a studio or anything like that. I want to have good content. And if the quality is not as good, I realize that hurts me. But hopefully my regular listeners will realize I'm trading that polish for the ability to get something out quicker. So thanks for your patience with that. Like I said, I think I'm about 2-star quality, just like I was a 2.5 tool baseball prospect. But I love the game and I love the hobby. So thanks, everybody. Be back again in a couple days.